A grading system in education is a standardized method used by educational institutions to evaluate and communicate a student's level of achievement or academic performance in a course or subject. Grading systems can vary significantly across different countries, educational levels like primary, secondary, and university, and even individual institutions. Some common types include traditional letter or percentage systems, pass or fail, and standards-based grading.
Let's start with norm reference grading. The core idea here is that your performance is measured against the performance of your peers. The norm in the norm reference refers to the group students taking the same test or course.
In this system, there is often a predetermined distribution of grades, a concept famously visualized by the bell curve. For example, an instructor might decide that the top 10% of the class will receive an A, the next 20% will get a B, and so on. Your grade isn't based on a fixed standard of knowledge, but rather on where you fall in the rankings of your peers. If everyone in your class performs exceptionally well, the bar for an A will be very high. Conversely, if the class struggles, a lower score might still earn you a high grade. This approach is commonly used in competitive environments like entrance exam for graduate schools or standardized tests, where the goal is to identify a limited number of top performers.
The primary advantage of norm reference grading is that it's excellent for ranking and sorting students. It provides a clear way to distinguish top performers from the rest of the group, which can be useful selecting candidates for limited opportunities. It also encourages form of healthy competition as students are motivated to outperform their peers.
However, this system has significant drawbacks. Because your grade depends on the performance of others, it can be seen as inherently unfair. A student might perform well on absolute scale but still receive a low grade if their peers perform even better. This can foster a competitive rather than collaborative learning environment. It also doesn't provide a clear picture of what students actually know or can do, only how they can compare to others. A student with an A might have mastered 90% of the materials, while other A student might have only mastered 70% depending on the class performance.
Now, let's look at the alternative of criterion reference grading. This is the system most of us are familiar with in our day-to-day schoolwork. In this model, your performance is measured against a fixed set of criteria or standards. In a criterion reference system, a grade is determined by how well you met a predetermined learning objective. For example, an instructor might set a standard that to earn an A, you must score 90% or higher on a test, regardless of how other students perform. A score of 80 to 89% earns a B, and so on.
Key characteristics of criterion reference grading. Fixed standard. The grading scale is set beforehand and does not change based on class performance. This provides transparency and predictability. You know exactly what you need to do to earn a certain grade. Focus on mastery. The goal is to measure a student's mastery of specific learning objectives. The grade reflects what a student has learned, not their rank among peers. This provides meaningful feedback on students' strengths and weaknesses. Encourage collaboration. Since a student's grade is independent of others' performance, there is no incentive to without help. In fact, collaboration can encourage as a student. Helping a classmate improve will not negatively impact their own grade. No limits on top grades. If every student in the class meets the criteria for an A, then every student will receive an A. This is a key difference from a norm reference system where only a limited number can be at the top.